Leelanau.
Where was your office at?
Right next to the station.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Aaron's is absent prior notice. Mr. Behrens?
Present.
Mr. Christensen?
Present.
Mr. Frericks is absent prior notice. Mr. Godbout?
Present?
Ms. Lautner is absent prior notice. Mr. Noonan?
Here.
Mr. Pofa?
Here.
Ms. Ross?
Here.
And Mr. Walter.
Any public comment? I don't see anybody here. Any agenda additions or deletions? Seeing none, can I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll second that.
Moved by John, second by Charlie. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to action items. We've got approval of the minutes from the August 2nd meeting. Those were emailed out. Hopefully everybody got a chance to look through them.
I read them all, but I wasn't here, so I didn't know.
I'll move to approve the August 2nd agenda, or minutes.
Hope will second it.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Moving on to the financials. Laurel was just informing me the last few pages of that, pages 14, 15, 16,
Yes.
is the response.
The Assistant Finance Director, Catherine Hartsfeld, responded to my request why membership in dues was so high. She provided a table which is on page 16 of the history of how the funding was arrived at for the particular item. I think it's probably worth noting that they tend to look at parks as a pool of money that they spread out. They don't do line item this stuff anymore,
Right.
even though it is.
Okay.
Makes sense.
If I remember the discussion, she was kind of looking for possible guidance as to where she really should be booking it. The particular item we're talking about is the water, I believe, testing. And so therefore, I think we would like to direct her to report it against the line item for consultant services, because that's, I think, where we've been putting it in the past.
We're at the
Contractual
financials.
Services?
Mhm.
You said consultant?
Consulting services,
You mean contractual?
contractual
Yeah.
services, sorry.
And that's the SOS analytical.
This water testing,
Mhm.
Sorry?
that's the what's analytical water testing.
Yeah.
Go to page 14 through 16. I asked you.
Right there, I saw it. I asked you the same question.
So did she figure out where to put it?
Well, she will take it where we take it out.
That was the upshot. She was really looking for guidance as to where she should put it, so I was
So you should-
suggesting we put it under contractual services, because that's where the budgeted money is.
Yeah.
I think we can do that by consensus, right?
Yeah.
Or do we have to vote
All
on it?
we have to do is just,
Tell
when
her.
the bill comes in, direct on the bill where you want it from. You don't really need a motion.
Great.
Because it's not membership dues.
True.
So the transaction history is first, the report is for First Amendment. That's it.
Are there any other questions on the financials?
Just a comment, we still haven't spent any money against the capital improvements part of the budget for the year so far. I assume you either use it or lose it, and it doesn't just automatically roll into the next year?
No.
Does not?
Yeah. No. Are there any other questions on the financials? Should we get a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, review of the parks risk assessment.
It's worth noting that they kind of intersperse all the parks with a little bit about the dam problem. So everything highlighted in green applies to parks. And what we could do as you schedule your next committee meetings is make sure that an excerpt from this is on your respective committee agendas for review.
Right.
I do have one comment. I mean, looking at all three parks, the playground areas in all three parks have the same item about the material that's being used for a kid to fall on and not hurt himself. So if in fact we're going to do anything to replace or augment that material, maybe we want to get one contract to do it at all three parks at the same time. It may actually save us some money, I assume, by doing it that way as opposed to individual parks.
Is there one particular substance that works better than others?
Well, we've been using the wood chips, but he doesn't like them because they're safe with rock and stuff I just put down last fall. I was thinking it's no good already. I think you should look at something else.
That's, because what are you gonna do? Yeah, they're gonna.
Was it the wood engineered stuff that we got last? Was it engineered or was it?
Well, what they mean by engineer is just gone through a series of magnets.
Wasn't the stuff that we put at the playground equipment at Veronica Valley a special ordered stuff that?
It is special work, that's what it is. It's just.
I thought it was,
It's like an expanded, it's the way they grind it. It's not just wood chips. It's like they take the wood and it gets it fluffy, if that makes any sense. However they do it, I have no idea, but that's what it does. And then there's no metal, there's no any foreign matter.
The same stuff I put in old cylinders.
But I don't know what they want underneath
I had to
there.
buy it on the state, Germans bought it.
Some of this stuff's a little bit frustrating because it's like, they want something different, but then what do you do different? Or how
There's a lot
to,
of things.
and then it's a lot of things that are so nitpicky.
Like for instance, the hot coal containers.
Right.
How do you keep a shovel in the front? And who's going to put more on?
Everybody leaves them in the,
Trash.
yeah. And not, I mean, it's not that we have to do every one of these things, but it just doesn't look great when it's been brought to our attention and then there's not a great solution to it. Is that okay with everybody that we take each excerpt and pass it along to the next committee meeting for each park? Is there any other comments or questions about what's before us at this time?
I like the idea of having each park committee look at
assess.
each one and come up with an answer, doesn't necessarily, we'll just come up with an answer.
Right.
So the
Like your
hot
idea.
coal tub is to keep people from putting them in the garbage and making a fire out of that?
Starting a forest fire, I'm not sure.
By moving them, yeah, why would you want anyone to do that?
Everybody just leaves them in there and lets them burn down, or
Yeah.
puts water on them before they leave. I mean, I've never seen anybody
We've never had a problem.
clean one out. Clean it out the next time, maybe, but.
When it gets full, you probably would clean it out, right? I mean, that's,
Or if I'm gonna use the grill and it's already full of charcoal, I'll clean it out and then I use the grill.
Right. Okay, any other questions or comments? Moving on to committee reports, we got Miles Kimmerly, the composting discussion.
And this is more or less just copies of emails that have been sent to me for review. A couple different issues, one being composting and Kimberly, as well as an email somebody got regarding kayak rental or something. So we'll start with kayak first. Yeah.
well, wait, are we,
The composting one first.
okay, so there are actually two kind of parts to this, so. Number one is I think I brought to this group last meeting, the idea of doing a composting educational display at the Poor Farm Barns, including row by row with Chris Scallinger. So I just came from a solid waste council, and they just gave the project $500 to pay for some of the educational display. So that's great, because I think the whole cost might be around $700 or so. So we're short a little bit of money to make that happen, but more is that we need probably a firm yes or no from this committee that you agree that a composting display next to the barn that would provide a place for all the garden that Chris Kellinger does to put his material in there, do it well. The only thing that we're required to do is to provide the sign. His team of volunteers and Chris will manage the compost. And it's out of the way, so it's not like someone's going to dump compost there. It's only for use by the gardens there. But again, it was centrally located on county property, yeah, and use it as an opportunity to help encourage other families to do backyard composting, nothing on a large scale, but just show them how in two kind of pallet materials containers they can create, organic matter for their own use. So I guess what I'm asking this group is that they gave us $500 from Solid Waste Council. My whole cost, we don't know the exact cost of the printing yet, because we're just going on a printing that was done 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm sure that's going to be higher, but I would need a couple $100 probably to make it happen. So I don't know if there's money in the budget for educational stuff or anyone have any thoughts about the idea? Or, I mean, it seemed like last time I brought this up, everybody was kind of shaking their head, yeah, but we didn't make a formal motion. So,
You could maybe have a motion up to $200, but we have to see the invoice to see what.
sure, yeah.
Could we do a not to exceed 300? That would make sure to cover it.
That would definitely cover it.
Now, why don't we do not to exceed 300?
And again,
500 cash, solid waste, just to cover.
that would be great, but I don't think we'd have to use it, but yeah. They're gonna supply the cedar posts, Chris has those, they're gonna do all the labor, they've got the pallets, they just need to print this board. Again, it was established by Leo Creek, and we're gonna put, that Leo Creek that's where the source came from, as thank you, and yeah. I just think it's I think it's a cool idea, collaborating with,
There's currently $450 remaining in the printing and publishing line item.
Oh, that would be perfect.
If that's where you want to use it.
And what's that
I
usually
don't
used
know if
for?
it's dedicated for something else.
Doesn't that usually go towards the fall brochure or the,
Enterprise or something?
what do you call it?
We have a fall calendar ad that's getting published in the next month,
I think we paid her up front. The,
just for the spring thing, not for the,
was it both of them?
they only bill after it's printed.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so that
bill's
money's
coming.
probably done.
But we get the
dedicated.
discount because we signed up early, I think.
So that
There's
money's
plenty of-
probably dedicated.
Yeah, there's plenty of places where we can get that money. I mean, we're gonna have plenty of money at the end of the year, quite obviously.
Yes.
And we're basically a, bottom line budget is what it is, so we have the money.
So do you want to, I guess we would need a motion then or a discussion.
I'd move that we provide funds not to exceed $300 for the printing of whatever Cameron just said it
Composting
was.
educational display panel. Yeah. It's about 4 by 6, 4 by 5. Yeah.
I'll support the motion.
We'd like to get it done this fall yet and get it in the ground before the ground freezes,
Go
so
ahead, John.
working with you. and-
For support.
Oh, no, I supported it, but
Make sure everybody's talking in your microphones, especially users.
Cameron, are these the laminated metal year-round signs?
Yeah,
This-
the one at
panel.
Leo Creek has been up since 2020, and it looks like the day they put it in, really high quality. And we'd use that same company, and I should be able to come up where that company was. Oh, I have it someplace. What's that? Something like that. It's in Traverse, a local company, but she's really happy with, so, yeah. Yeah, so
And
it'd
this
be,
doesn't have to go to the board, you can just purchase.
yes.
Right. Interestingly enough, New York City is going to enter the realm of mandatory composting.
If they can do it, why can't we?
So, I mean,
New York
it
City.
makes a lot of sense everywhere, especially in cities where you gotta haul stuff around. But, yeah, cool.
Wow.
So this will be, the educational panel will, it's not inviting people to bring their compost there,
No.
but giving them the information to how to set up a composting
Yeah.
procedure
So
process.
we're doing one on September 28th, a composting workshop here, and then one in the spring. So it's the Solid Waste Council's attempt just to kind of keep the people moving in that direction. Obviously, until we have a central regional facility, we have to do it ourselves in our backyard, so we want to move that.
Where is that workshop?
Right here, at the 28th at 9 to 11. Yeah. There should be flyers out in the mail or out in the newspapers and stuff this week, so.
So is it the barn committee that's doing the signage, or is it solid waste that's doing the signage?
I don't know, wait,
Who is purchasing the sign?
I think it should come from the park, because it's on park property, but they're just contributing
Oh.
$500 to the, yeah.
It's interesting, Gene Garthy's doing commercial composting for his orchards. He's been doing that for probably 20 years. Leelanau Excavating, just down the street, if you look at their main shop, and then they converted a valley that they purchased, they were doing rows
Yeah.
of composting. So Traverse City has, they're doing composting of all the leaves and stuff from the city. So there's a lot going on. I don't know how coordinated it is, but
It's got to be coordinated, because we're redoing our plan, and it has to be a part of it, so, within 2 years.
Who conducts the workshop on the 28th?
Kate Thornhill is going to do it, yeah. And then there's a woman named Amy, I can't remember her last name, will do the one in the spring. So 2 different perspectives.
So just for clarification, I moved that the Parks and Recreation Commission approved allocating up to $300 for the creation of a compost and display at Miles Community Park. Does that sound right?
That sounds good. I approve.
Specifically the Poor Barn Farm, but yeah. Does it,
Well, I'm trying to make it as less controversial as I can. Is that one? Well,
Is there any other questions? Colin? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
The second part of that is actually needs to go to the Miles Kimberly group first, but I just want to mention it as long as we're talking that Steve Steyer just has been thinking about that 10 acres that's over west of the barn and what you guys are going to do with what we're going to do with that field, and just wondered if we could use the compost or, think about using that as a display that would further show the advantages of using organic material that you create yourself and how that would look in a field. So like half is got compost and biochar on it, the other half doesn't. Seed it to beautiful wildflowers, which I'm always promoting, but just a concept that he wants to ask us that we would consider, not obviously this year. What's that? Well, we wouldn't generate that compost. We'd purchase it probably across the street from Barry Kroll. But again, just, we haven't done anything with that 10 acres. And, maybe that's in keeping with the Poor Farm Barn and showing what agriculture, I don't know, just an idea. So
What's the status of the ice rink possibility over on that property?
we haven't got it next yet, so that's good.
I think it's with a general consensus that he just does it and see how it goes. He's on his own for the most part. He's met with you, hasn't he, Dan? Yeah. I haven't heard anything else from him. I haven't seen him lately either.
It was full stop because liability
But that didn't show up anywhere here, did it?
was passed.
We discussed that.
We can contact them or may get their thoughts.
And maybe Dan figured that out. I don't know.
I saw him at the fishing day, and he was all full blown, going straight forward still. When was that, July?
June?
Yeah.
Okay. Does he know that? Maybe that's why I haven't heard from him. I think I've got. I'm gonna make sure that I have his number and I'll give him a call and see what's going on. I don't, but I'll get it. Okay. Next item would be the kayak and boat launch discussion.
Yeah, I guess I should have mentioned this or found it at the beginning when we were approving the agenda, that actually, that item should fall under Old Settlers Park Committee, not under Miles Kimberly Park Committee.
I clarified, it was for any park that had water. They were asking generally, not specific to Old Settlers, but Old Settlers is really, you're not gonna put a boat launch. There's no water.
Are the ponds at Veronica Valley large enough to put kayaks and canoes in? I didn't think so.
Well, we wouldn't assist in doing that with the actual launch
Okay,
platform.
well, again, if it applies to all parks, I won't amend it.
Who is that emailed to?
I think Deb, and then she asked me to forward it on emails.
Right.
Irish Millie Taylor.
I know. It's like-
I mean, from my perspective, it would be a hard no, but I'm only one person.
Why is that, Casey?
I don't think it'd be a great addition to the park. I mean, I guess if we're talking about Old Settlers specifically, because that's the only park with water access, you can access the lake there with a kayak or a canoe as you wish. as far as having rentals there or having a rental site, I don't think that would fit amongst the park or the park's concept. And I don't think it would be all that great to try and form a business out of that park. We don't, with any of our other parks, I just don't, it's not a bad concept in theory, but when you put it into words, I don't think that it's appropriate.
It's our smallest part. And
Yeah.
real estate is at a pretty much.
Right, and that park is heavily used in the summertime already. There's, I mean, on any given summer day, there's a bunch of people there.
Parking would be an issue then. for sure.
Parking and a place to even put it, as far as having storage, or you're gonna use up a pretty prime chunk of real estate in that, or not, or a pretty large chunk of real estate, and that park is just it's a passive park, in my opinion, where it's kind of meant to just kind of be as it is and quiet and enjoy the water.
We've on occasion bumped into concepts of making money at the parks, concessions. People want to make money at our parks. We've talked about maybe making money ourselves at the parks. We've talked about charging entrance fees at the parks. All of those have been rejected because we're not in the business to be making money with the parks. We're in the business of providing parks for enjoyment to people who really can't possibly maybe afford other things than they can do as a family. All they have to do is get to the park and the family has a good time, that kind of thing. So we've kind of bumped into this a lot, and I would voice my opinion along with Casey's.
And if you look at page 26, that's my email in response to the letter from Deb, essentially showing the historical and current information since the 2020 through 2024 park plan were put together. I mean, essentially it started with, and I'm mentioning there that we might consider a kayak and canoe launch. But I go on to say that really it's not developed. There is a asphalt, going down from the road down to the lake, but it would not be in any way ADA compliant or universally accessible because of the steepness of the slope. So in order to make anything down there, including the current dock, UA or ADA compliant, we would have to actually put in a whole big ramp structure to get people down to the lakefront. So this isn't just a matter of someone bringing in a rack with kayaks and setting it up and trying to go forward. I think we would end up spending a lot of money just getting something ready for someone to do that with.
I agree.
Okay, decision made.
Go ahead, Scott.
I'd like to add something to the boat launch discussion, not necessarily this kayak. I can't find the name or number, but a neighbor contacted me about concerns of people launching boats there,
Motorized boats.
motorized boats, as well as overnight mooring. I've seen that a lot over the years. Contacted the sheriff's department. There's nothing they can do about it unless we have it in our law, our rules, that overnight mooring is unacceptable.
So they're tied up to the dock.
To moor it overnight. People will be there for like a week or whatever, and they'll bring their boat down.
Keep it in the lake so that,
They don't have to keep launching it.
So it's
People have kayak.
in the water, right in front of.
Okay.
Which is
We don't
technically our
really own
property.
that
Yeah, you do.
land, do we? I mean, the bottom land.
Yeah.
Inland lights are different than.
Yeah, we do.
It's a pie to the middle.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Gotcha.
So we need,
I just wanted to bring it up to you guys and told John after.
I guess the mooring part of it,
The season's really low now, but
right,
next year.
Well, I think I noticed that the sign at the park has been changed to say the launching of both motorized and non-motorized vessels, personal flotation devices, whatever, is not authorized, not allowed. I don't know when the sign was changed, because originally it was just motorized vessels. And I don't know under what authority the sign was changed, but that's something I've noticed at the park.
And it
It
should,
hasn't stopped people, because I know specifically of someone who launched 2 jet skis there this summer, and I kind of put me on edge, but they were already in the water once, because we were out on the boat, and they come fly, they're friends of ours, and he came over, and why did you come from the other side of Glen Lake, or Big Glen? He goes, oh, we launched at Old Settlers. I'm like, that's not a boat launch. That is not what that's for. Well, it worked. I'm like, yeah, it worked, but that's not what it's for. So I don't know if we need to change the signage, but how to address it, but it's not something that gets used a lot by any means, but it's still being used.
The gate for the ramp, is that locked all the time, or is that always unlocked? Scott?
It's unlocked.
It's
always
unlocked.
Yeah.
It was locked by the Glen Lake Association, and I cut the lock because I didn't have any access to it. That caused a stir, but we got over it. But we put our lock on it. I have an issue with that. The sign, rule number 8, launching motorized power boats from anywhere in the park is prohibited.
launching motorized, you just said.
I thought I saw something, there was a label put over that said motorized and non-motorized.
Well, if it's on the sign, then I would put our lock on it.
Yeah, that's our property.
If you've got a lock that we can put on there,
Well,
then
people can watch the kayaks.
You can't get around it?
can we potentially put a new gate in there where there's enough room on the paved side, like the west side, that they could walk the kayaks or canoes or whatever down there, but then keep
I think if you had a kayak over your head, you can actually get past the gate now, even with the gate closed.
or just leave it as it is and let people fend for themselves. Or slide them underneath there, whatever they need to do. Nobody needs to be launching any motorized boats there. That's not what it's for. It's not designed for that.
But they can do the kayaks, the
Yes.
non-motorized, so we want to facilitate that, not make it
You don't want
dangerous or
people back down there, right?
Yeah, paddle boards.
paddleboards, yeah. So,
Paddleboards are okay?
Yeah.
Anything non-motorized.
Don't we solve part of the problem by putting our lock on it, on the gate?
For now, yeah,
I think
and then
so.
see how it goes. If we need to change something to allow better access for anybody, you can't make it handicap accessible, period. That's not gonna happen. So as far as if we have to move the gate or put a new gate in there so that they do have a little more access on the west side of the gate, we can look at that, but until, I just put our lock on it and go from there.
Should we be in contact with the Glen Lake Association though, or
No,
no?
they think they own our park.
But maybe their concern is the invasive species, is that what they're,
Yeah, it's the
So that
whole,
was their concern.
yeah.
it's the
so I
whole,
think that
it's the whole
we
boat
should
launch.
respect that.
Yeah, they're already trying to, or have a hard enough time trying to.
Yeah, it's that whole boat wash issue, basically. But
And
the
it's
the
just
launch
not-
gets so busy, there's only one launch. And people are,
And that was the reason that this,
people are looking for some way to get in and out of the lake without
That's
having,
why
it-
the guys launched.
without having to
that's why
go
they
over
launched
there.
their jet skis there. It was the
You can
4th
actually
of
do that
July.
at any road.
And it's a terrible situation.
Yeah, yeah,
It still isn't, it's not a place for it.
Yeah.
And that obviously there's been a lot of work to combat the invasive species and to keep it out. And if it happened from going through there, that would be pretty disappointing.
So we think they're concerned about the kayak, the non-motorized?
I don't think they want anything going in
The
there.
Glen Lake Association does not want anything dropped from our dock. Oh,
No kayaks, no
that's,
canoe.
that's them.
Yeah,
Which,
it's,
I mean,
it's the
they
boat
have a
wash,
point.
it's the boat wash issue, yeah.
But it's,
Isn't there signage, that's referencing boat washing there at the park? Like right, just as you're going down the
there
ramp?
might be something about invasive species.
It just talks about invasive species.
It doesn't show you where the next boat launch or boat wash station is, right? Well, we could have that. They could do that.
We could upgrade the information there maybe. That might not be. a bad-
How often do you see kayakers launching there?
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, not like every time I'm there.
but yeah, that's their whole thing. They don't want any access at that point. That's why they were locking the gate. They don't want anything, period.
I'd like to put a sign on there, no launch motorized craft or something like that.
Yeah,
I thought you did. You do have that. No?
it's in the rules.
It's in the rules.
Oh.
Black around the gate itself.
And there's a big rules board
Oh,
sign that
gotcha.
has that on
Okay,
it.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
upgrading the signage at the ramp is probably something we should look at doing.
Whatever you need to do to get that done, I would do it.
I know at the Centerville Township Park on Lake Leelanau, we have a sign. I'm trying to think of what it says now. Something that to say that there's a boat washing station someplace, to kind of encourage people, but yeah.
Try to get
I
the
would say it'd be
concept out.
only polite and correct to talk with the Glen Lake Association and
I've talked, Rob Carner's called me many times. This isn't,
slightly.
yeah, I'm not cordial to him, but it's a difficult thing because they want full control over it, which is, from a somewhat of a standpoint, I kind of agree with, but also it is a publicly owned park. So how do you say, I mean, you take away everything and then
Yeah.
One thing that,
Barbed wire around the park, no windows.
yeah, and Rob hasn't been rude to me, but he's been very pushy with me on some things about it. And I know where they're coming from, but also at the same time, it is a public park owned by the public. Just, what do you say? Nobody can use the water? How do you, and they can go right down the road to the next boat, or to the next
Road end.
And put the kayak in.
Yeah.
So, the motorized boats, obviously, but the kayaks and everything, to put a full stop to it, I don't think that is it.
one thing that is probably happening, it's a bit of a guess on my part, but, I'd hazard a guess to think that a fair number of the kayaks that are going in and coming out don't go anywhere else. They're not coming from Detroit. These are kayaks that live in the homes that are
I don't know.
nearby.
Maybe.
They come and they go back. They don't go anywhere. Just saying that, trying to put a positive spin on part of what's going on, but
Yeah.
anyway.
That's where it stands. I mean,
Screwed that mess up.
it's something that has, since I've been on this board, become more frequent. It's an issue. The Glen Lake Association knows about it. They don't like it. They don't like the road ends either, but there's definitely nothing they can do about the road end. They can try and leverage us to change some things at the park, and that can go where it goes. But for now, I would like to see the lock put on there and some updated signage, especially for the motorized boats, and then leave the kayak thing as it stands. If somebody wants to put their kayak underneath there or carry it around or whatever, then in my opinion, that's only fair.
And you said there is something that alludes to invasive species already there, right?
I think it's just like kind of the standard plaque that you see at most boat launches.
Keeps.
It'd be nice if we could point people to the boat wash station.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's our part. I mean, that's education, so
That's what we're here for.
and we can't put a boat washing station there. That doesn't.
That's not practical. There's one across on the other side of the lake.
It's a long drive from Old Settlers.
You
And the
gotta
sign
wanna,
with the
you
fine
gotta wanna
print
go
underneath
there.
is-
You gotta wanna go there and you gotta wanna come back and not waste half your
Well,
day.
just turning into that and coming back out, it's interesting when it's jammed full.
Oh my gosh.
People.
It's deterred me from ever putting my boat in that lake again until after September.
Yeah,
Because I had the worst experience there on the 4th of July this year. It's gotten worse, progressively worse every year that I've gone out there, and it's not worth it anymore.
I've heard some real horror stories.
It's terrible.
Neighbors on the lake screaming at the end of the dock with air horns.
Oh.
There's people swimming out in front of their home, fishing.
It's not any fun anymore. There's lots of people that still enjoy it, but it's a mess.
I can see why people would be mooring.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally see that because
Launch once.
it's extremely difficult to get in that lake on any summer day. It doesn't matter. It used to be throughout the week, it wasn't too bad, and the weekends were terrible. Now, it's every day that it's a mess. And there's no. I've talked with people from the Glen Lake Association, and that is exactly what they want. They want a deterrent so people don't use the lake. It doesn't deter very many people because there's still
And it's a public launch, so.
yeah. So it's not working by any means,
Well,
but
what we've got is, just a boatload of summer rental.
yeah, it is what it is. It's not going to get any better.
Yeah, the
because
summer rental situation's exploded, and every one of the summer rentals that's on a lake has lots of watercraft with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the Old Settlers Committee then need to rewrite the rules so that the sheriff can enforce
The mooring.
no more?
That'd be a good topic for committee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on that? One thing under Miles Kimmerly, my son plays summer league baseball for Maple City, and people have found out that I am the chairman of the parks, and they want improvements for the baseball fields, and I've been heckled about it quite a bit, which is fine. I understand it. And I said, if you guys can raise the money, the improvements could be made. Scoreboard was one. What else did somebody ask me about? They want just like to spruce everything up, and they've done some of it. Luke helped paint the.
Did a great job. I can't thank him enough.
Yeah. So something to keep in the back of our mind. I don't know if the scoreboard is something that could originate from this board if we so sought.
He talked to me about the scoreboard, Jim, and I said, well, bring it from the committee.
Yeah, and I have no idea how much one would cost or how much or how that would all work, but and that's what I've told them from the get-go. I said, if you guys want any of this, it needs to originate from somewhere. I'm not going to be the facilitator of it because I'm not going to do the legwork on figuring out how much everything costs. But I said the possibilities are kind of somewhat endless as long as the park or the board approves it, but you need to originate it from somewhere and come talk to us at least a little bit. So just wanted to bring it up that's out there. People are.
We've heard back from Gosling, so we're in the process of having a meeting at some point?
And it's just determining whether or not to hold a meeting with Mr. Krogolecki or just hold a meeting to review the report and then contacting him for changes. Because you've got this threshold of how much money you can spend on that.
Yeah, there's one meeting covered or something like that. And does all this flow through the Miles Committee first from Gosling? So we have to decide on the committee level whether we're going to mark it up or have a meeting. I think a couple people have weighed in.
That didn't make it today. This page. I think you want to meet first before talking to Kevin.
Don did.
Have the committee meet first?
Yeah.
I'll go along. with
But
that.
he's at the point where we can move forward with that. And once that's in place, then things like fixing the ball fields will fall more easily in place as, what do we do first? What do we do second? We're just kind of waiting on that piece.
Yeah.
And we haven't paid them yet, right?
What's gonna get out?
Payment schedule, so there has been some payment, but not all of it, because he hasn't.
There's no product to pay for, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
Well, the main point, I mean, what you're getting from this effort will be the input for the 2024 through 2028 master plan that we have to produce? Or is,
That's another topic.
This is just a Miles Kimmerly
This is
Park
just a
plan.
Miles,
yeah, but
a
I
Miles
would think we'll
plan.
just fold into that, and then we have to do something for the other part.
Yeah,
It could,
024, we're gonna be doing the 5-year plan. And we haven't decided who we're gonna have help us, but Gosling has got 2 feet in and they're already there, so,
Right.
in my
It,
mind. but-
it will in some parts fold into that 5-year plan, but not totally.
Right.
This Miles Kimmerly Park plan will fold into our
Yeah,
5-year plan.
it will, yep.
Okay. Moving on to, is there anything else under Miles Kimmerly? Moving on to Old Settlers.
I personally don't have anything. I would ask if you have anything about the,
I've solicited one bid from a friend of mine I saw him this weekend. He basically said not till next year. I don't, he didn't want to look at it, I guess. I don't know if that counts as one bid solicitation or if I need something from him.
Oh, a quote. What, we're getting quotes?
What's the bid for? Is that the
The-
road work?
Yes.
Okay.
So we need 3 actual bids. What if we
Quote.
can't get 3 actual?
Quotes, not bids, quotes. It's a
Okay.
different thing.
I'll see if he'll write something up or whatever.
He can
Zach is the one who gave us the written quote already,
quote, yeah.
and then I
Yeah,
haven't gotten.
I would count that, definitely. You made contact and said next year, so that's a quote. Come to me next year.
Okay,
That counts, in my mind. You're trying.
just depends if it counts with the administrator.
Well,
She's got ins.
3 quotes or 3 quotes.
Okay,
if the quote is, we can't do it,
And it's
well,
important to know how long the quote is good for.
right,
Like, is it 3 months, 6 months?
yeah. Zach would have got, or, we're gonna be running it by the time we come back again in October, we're gonna be running out of time. So maybe it is gonna be next spring before it gets done, I guess, I don't. If the weather was decent, I know he would be able to get it done this year, but who knows? So if you could get a hold of Billy and get him there before our next meeting, so we have, or get a quote out of him, then we'd have it covered. And then we would recommend whoever was cheaper, I guess, to Deb, and then hopefully Deb would sign off on it and we can get it done. Concept anyways. Okay. Other than that, that's all I've got.
okay. If, assuming that we're gonna get the funding next year for the work on the gazebo, is there a request for a proposal form we're gonna have to use because of the size of it, or something like that, which we should start preparing now, assuming we wanna get the work done next year?
That would be the way to do
You need a
it.
scope of service in order to go out for bids, and we would have council draft the RFP.
Okay, and who prepares the scope of service?
That's entirely up to you if you want.
Okay. But is that just a Word document from me that says we'd like you to do the following things on the gazebo? Is that a scope of service document?
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that.
Yep.
That'd be great.
And then they go out for, council would go out or do the RFP and go out for bids. And then you probably have to leverage somebody to do it because we went through it with the grub shack, and I couldn't get anybody else to even look at it, really. And it took Jamie several years to be able to have time to do it.
Okay.
So we may be in the same boat, I don't know, maybe the work is letting up out there, it doesn't seem like it, but,
All right, I'll take step one and
yeah, go for it.
produce a document that says what we want to do.
See where it,
Perfect.
see where it ends up.
And Melinda's not here, so I really can't get an update on the status of the bench, although they do have someone who's going to build the bench. They know where the rocks are coming from. They're coming from the Lanham family's farm area. So exactly when it will get installed at the chapel, I don't know.
I talked to Peg at the Old Settlers Picnic, and she didn't have a date. She said they had everything lined up. They were supposed to all meet there at the end of the Old Settlers Picnic to get all the stone rounded up. And then I don't know when that would be built. She didn't know when it would be started on, but seems like it's moving along.
That's it for Old Settlers.
Okay.
Veronica Valley?
Mostly have updates here, although relative to beavers, we need to make a decision about whether to spend some money or not. We have had another beaver. We had flooding that really took out the trail again across the Midway Bridge. Al Zielinski has done a lot of volunteer work for the park without even being asked. I didn't know about it, but he's been in there taking dams apart, so keeping the flooding down. I was there, it was a week ago Sunday, so now 10 days ago, and could not hear or find any rebuilding of dams, and there wasn't any flooding right then going on along the pathway as you go over Midway Bridge. However, we've got a beaver problem. So I called Trapper Ron. The state rules have changed. We can simply declare, we don't have to do this from my understanding in any formal way, but if it's a nuisance, we don't need a permit. A licensed trapper, which Trapper Ron is, can get in there at any time. He is, as of 2 weeks ago, he said, oh, mid-September, because I said I'd have to bring it to this group, would fit his schedule to get in there and get started. It's $800. He said this time $800 for 3 weeks of trapping. Well, in the past, he's stuck it out longer than 3 weeks. So, and we've only, to my knowledge, we've only paid the $800. We've hired him twice. The first, I think, was $500. I'm not sure that it went up to $800. He quoted me 2 weeks ago that it would be $800 again. Do we want to spend that? I don't see any other way of managing it without hiring specialists to get in there and get after them.
Or we just go ahead and hire it.
And this would be under maintenance, so I don't think it's Scott's decision alone on that. So I just need authorization that we all think that's a good way to go. I will talk with Trapper Ron and get him in there, get us on his schedule to get in there as soon as possible.
Sounds good.
I agree.
Okay. Porta potty. John and I and Scott did spray paint, line out, preliminary lines for a future paved parking lot where the walkway would go to match that and the pad location for putting the porta potties down. Scott, do you have any sense of when, or any knowledge yet of when we would get to pouring? Building the frame.
Nailed down the date.
Do you anticipate?
As soon as you get a yay from you guys,
Okay.
definitely yes. And I'll hit Jerry up.
The yay you're looking for is approval of the positions, because I didn't bring any.
And the cost.
Okay.
The cost would just be forms.
Maintenance item.
But that's, again, maintenance, correct? No, capital improvement for the.
Probably a capital improvement.
for the- for the-
We have plenty of money in that department.
Go for it.
That's not gonna be over $2,000.
John, didn't you calculate on the basis of some, what the
Well,
cost?
I didn't bring that information. I did have a question reference to that. We did do a design layout that was accepted.
Talk a little closer to your mic, sorry.
I can do that. Because I talk so much. We did do a design for providing 20 cars, which seems to be adequate for the majority of the time, except for Fish Day, and for a 40-foot school bus turnaround with a 38-foot radius. My only question is, and so we located the spot, and I did have the dimensions laid out for a barrier-free accessible and an adjacent one, and potential trash. My only concern is the elevation of the concrete slab. Are we setting this up for drainage in a gravel surface, a paved surface? Are you doing interior drains? Or are you doing drainage system to the outside?
It's a good question. That's out of my league.
Yeah, well, we just didn't, we just
Didn't talk
stopped
about.
there. We didn't,
Those decisions have to be coordinated with when we pour. Well,
the elevation.
even elevation, even in setting the forms.
well, the elevation of the surface of that should relate to the, pardon?
Of the existing walkway.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right,
We're gonna fill all this in.
yes. Okay, we can use that. I just kind of question the elevation of the existing sidewalk that determines the approach to the drainage.
Sounds like you need another visit?
Well, determine is do we design it for a gravel system? Do we design it for surface drainage to the outside? Or do you do interior catch basins? Do you do it for,
Drain it to the outside,
it's
is
less.
my opinion, right?
Yeah, isn't that the simplest? Simply to have
Yes.
enough slope to the pad that it's drained outside?
Right. Well, part of the problem is that where those toilets are, that's the outside, so, so that you want at least, about a ½ inch per foot slope for water. So if you have, 100 feet, then you can end up about 10 inches to the center to get it to slope to the outside.
Right.
Is this something we should bring up in a committee meeting?
Yes.
We haven't had a committee meeting.
Now, we just kind of said, okay, this is where we're gonna go,
Yeah,
and do we set it for a gravel slope to the outside, and then with the potential of doing it 2-inch asphalt topping that would bring it to the concrete?
well, let's bring that up.
Yeah,
Which means just in terms of overall timing and weather and where we are in the season, get with us and we'll get a meeting.
Sure.
A committee meeting to address that particular issue, because that's not something we can really
no,
figure
that's
out
great.
here.
And I can do the drawings for the slopes, gravels, getting positive
When
drainage.
you say draining into gravel, are you talking about first having to put down some gravel around the outside of the pad?
No,
You're talking about like the parking lot.
I'm talking about the parking lot.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, I
speak
understand.
to that
No,
one.
no, I understand. Okay. We'll work at getting a
Yeah,
committee
I think
meeting
that's the point we need to.
going real quick here.
Yeah, there's plenty of area there to do the drainage, it's just a matter of planning it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, which way you want to go and.
I don't have any further update. I attempted this morning again to talk with Bill Watson, who is with YouthWorks, and really put in the application for us for the 2% monies, which we received. Bill assured me now, a month ago, that it would be done this fall. I don't have any other information at this point. Steve and Tom Adams queried me about the procedure. Their concern was, are these goats just let go in the park and they eat whatever they feel like eating, wherever they feel? And no, there is a walk around to identify the estimated spaces, whichever, that the goats could complete in the length of time that is covered by the monies for the project. There'll be a walk around, certainly get Tom involved in that walk around to say we don't want them eating anything here or specifically these trees, et cetera. I did that walk around with him the first time when it didn't come through. But that'll happen. Again, the only thing I know at this point, I think Bill's got one of his crews in the UP and wasn't answering his phone this morning. So I don't have any more knowledge other than he responded about a month ago and saying, no, it'll get done this fall. Laurel?
Any awarded 2% allocation funding from the tribe, if it's similar to this situation where we sponsored someone, we're kind of like a fast food to some extent, but the board requires, because of council recommendation, that an agreement has to be in place, and it's actually on the board's agenda for this month with the youth, with child and family services.
And that was drawn up by council? Okay, so that step's done.
Does it need to be
The
signed?
12th Well, the 12th is the executive board session, and a week later, on the 19th, is when we would approve this agreement, because the funds have already dropped. We received a check a month or so ago. We just had to have this agreement in place. So
Cool.
council's drafted it, the board's gonna review it, and it'll be just a matter of approving it. And then Gina Ranke from Child and Family Services, who Bill works for, she's already signed it, she's
Okay.
reviewed it, her council's reviewed it. So it's just a matter of going through the process.
So it sounds like all is moving along.
Yep.
Do I need to be at that executive session or?
I could speak for you. I mean, if you want me to. I mean, unless you want to come, that's great.
The board approved the application, and the board
Yeah, it's-
accepted the funds, so this is just.
This is just
Formality.
formality. Yeah, don't worry.
Okay.
That's what I have.
Good.
I know that,
Unless there are questions.
as an aside, was at the Kids Fish Day and was talking with Heather. I don't know if it came out during the meeting or not, but they were both commenting about how the fish weren't biting. And her take, if I had Kama's comment correct, that the water was too warm. So because the water was so warm, the fish were down to the coldest parts and they weren't as able to or wanting to bite like they maybe normally would with cooler water. So that was Heather's take on it. We were all kind of wondering why weren't the fish biting? But if I got it right, that was Heather's take on it.
I got the
Nothing we
same from
can do about
Heather.
it.
I forgot all about that. That
Very
was her-
interesting.
her estimation. I was there now
in the past month where family, well, there were two young boys fishing. They were very excited because one of them had put a bait or whatever in the water and caught one of the larger bass instantly. They had not had a bite on anything since. When I talked to them, they'd been there a little bit. And 10 days ago, I saw one of the larger bass as well. So they're still in there.
Yeah.
They may have eaten some of our 3,000 little bluegills. A couple of the bass are big enough to do that.
Sure,
But
they were enjoying it.
I can't see that a blue heron ate that many fish, or that somebody came in after we stocked it and caught a lot of fish, most of which would have been not what somebody like that would have wanted to keep
Right.
anyway. So I'm hoping that's what happened to our fish, is that they're still there, sitting down low.
Well, I had the opposite story. I ran into a family there and they were slaying them.
It's a good
It was a
day.
chilly night, the water cooled off enough or something.
That's fishing for you.
Good.
Got over 40 fish thrown out back.
Wow.
That was in the long ponds, right?
Yeah.
In the back ponds, yeah. Well, it's excellent to hear that,
They're in
there's
there.
fish there and they're being caught.
Just a lot of swim lips. Those poor little fish.
They keep biting. It's their choice.
It occurred to me as we talked about the old settler situation, I have not found the right signage for our fishermen at Veronica about cleaning tackle. Make sure you don't have a shard of
Lead on your line or.
yeah, or on a hook. You've taken off a lure and thrown it in your tackle box and it still has a little piece of leaf attached to the hook, and just don't think about it. All the signage I found, I have not looked since June, early July, but it all was about cleaning boats. Well, it doesn't apply to Veronica. But it's been my thought, and we'll work on this towards next year, is it would be helpful, I'm sure, in that whole effort that goes along with cleaning up the boats before you move to another body of water, to have that kind of signage there. And it might be that we just write up our own.
Have you asked the Lake Leelanau Lake Association if they have anything specific to that?
Yes.
And they don't have anything either?
Well, they sent several sources and several examples, and it was primarily about cleaning your boat, not about tackle.
I don't think I've ever seen a sign either that says about clean. You make a good point.
Well, and that's why, the little signs that we had on the first tree corral, don't remember the gal's name that worked in your office, was handy with desktop publishing. She put that together, but it was just printer paper. I got it laminated. They lasted 3 years.
Yeah.
Just fine. So
Come up with, yeah.
if we simply write up something, but I think that's something we should look at
It's a good idea.
next
You know,
year.
One of the things that goes hand in glove with that is the bait buckets.
Yeah.
You're working over the bait buckets, and maybe some bait goes back in the bait bucket. And so those bait buckets would be contaminated by using the bait at Veronica. So theoretically, you wouldn't use that bait in any other location, which would be, it'd be hard. I mean, to pitch a bunch of bait in the dumpster before you hit the road, that kind of thing, but I don't know.
So I hadn't thought about bait being a problem.
Well, I mean, if you're putting bait on, taking bait off, and you're working right over the bucket, the same shards of
I see.
plant material can get in with the bait.
That kind of thinking can be maybe part of the signage.
Yeah. I
They
don't
should
know.
dump the bait bucket before they leave.
Well, that's where the thought process would go. It'd be awfully hard to do. But anyway, invasive species,
Yeah.
Ongoing.
Got it.
We will never
Okay,
get.
moving on to the St. Mary School cross-country event. We need to,
Laurel, do you know the status of that?
Well, I was approached, this is a yearly thing,
Yep.
and it's the last part of your packet.
right.
And you can see where
Page
I've
29.
made some minor changes on dates. Money doesn't change hands, we've done it for the last few years. Our administrator will sign off on it if you're okay with it.
You want a motion from us?
Yeah.
Would you like to make a motion, Dave?
Dave,
Uh,
or?
No, I'm thinking. I move that the Parks and Rec Commission support the St. Mary's request to hold cross-country event as it has in the past, again this year.
So support and sign the agreement.
Okay, support and sign the agreement?
You got it. John, all the support?
Yes.
Support from John? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Right.
Any public comment over here? Okay. Any commissioner comments? Nothing from me?
The only thing, I have a commissioner comment. Tom Adams and Al Zelinski have saved me in several different ways. They put in a lot of volunteer time on the park. And I don't have an idea, but I'd like to somehow recognize that. Both of them. And I'm going to keep chasing Al as a future potential member of this commission.
Nice.
He's very committed to the park.
Well, I guess now you mentioned that, I'd like to say Luke Muggenberg put him in that file.
Yeah. He's, Luke is a very valuable asset to the beach.
Maybe we should figure out some way to
Yeah.
recognize volunteers of the park, or, just like the Sleeping Bear Dunes does, have an event or have a recognition, something.
I like that idea.
And to generate more of them, encourage more people to step up. Yeah,
Well, let's think on that as all of us
can
because
we
it's
put
not
that on
just
our next
Veronica.
agenda? Yeah, I totally agree, because our funding isn't going to increase any faster than we need it to, so we need those volunteer commitment.
Any other comments?
Well, actually, David mentioned a while ago, I want to say almost annually, how it'd be nice to create a Friends of the Parks groups for the separate parks, and
Yeah.
if you've got people interested in a scoreboard,
Right.
and some other things that they start, that might be a good segue into creating a little ad hoc Friends of the Park.
Sound a bad idea?
Maybe rolling out some of these plans, like the new updated Miles Kimberly plan, be an opportunity to just say, hey, Ann, we're looking to increase volunteerism at the park. So.
And even
We
consider.
have donations for pickleball court.
Or a scoreboard.
You may be surprised how much money you can scrounge up. There's a lot of people that have a lot of money around here, and they are willing to support stuff like that. So, it's not a bad idea. Okay, any other comments?
Did you address the St. Mary's School cross-country?
We passed it.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Unanimous. Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Scott, so you had been told that the ice rink is no-go?
It was rumors.
Yeah, I heard that rumor too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was approached in, Elmwood Township,
Okay.
and they took it to council,
I have two
their council, and the liability was too big.
Sometimes the wind helps.
That Elmwood
Yeah.
I wonder how other,
But Sutton Bay and Leland all have it, totally
there's one in
volunteer.
Benzie too.
Yeah.
That does it. And
South Bay Village.
there's one at the Benzonia in the, I don't know if it's in
It's
the.
like a
Benzonia, right?
little league field next to
Yeah,
the
it's a
library.
community park. I don't know if it's township owned or it's county owned, but.
I think it's a village of Benzonia.
The intersection of 31 and
Because it's right next to
115.
the
Yeah, it's
house.
hard,
community
nobody
house.
wants to
Yeah.
lease them.
They've had it there even when I was in
That's,
school.
that's a
so
problem.
50 years.
Well, I asked Susan Ock for
I know.
Leland about their
I know what
insurance,
they
and
are,
she didn't make it was any big deal, and she has complaints, so.
You sent it to me. Oh, it came through.
I think,
It came through once. Thank you. But I'll call them just, I just, it seems like, I mean, I know there's a liability there, that makes sense, but if other entities have been able to do
Okay,
it.
I saved it and then